#1 source for local stories. I'm Michael Miller, bringing people together and sharing the voices, events, and connections that shape our community.
Cheers, guys.
That'd be true.
I'm all in to be the Miami-Dade County mayor.
That event. Tell everybody about it. What's next? What do we have to do?
Thank you for joining us. To my left and your right, we have Village of Palmetto Bay Mayor Karen Cunningham and Robert Asensio, former state rep, former police officer of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, former Army reservist. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Were you a captain somewhere?
Yes, the police.
The police.
Retired.
All right, retired. All right. By the way, that school system, I understand, has like 450 policemen. It's a big deal, right?
It is. It's grown.
And you helped a lot with that.
Yeah.
Former
City
teacher over here, former representative of the...
I was with United Teachers of Dade until just
UTD?
April. Yeah.
Okay. And now you retired from that?
Retired from that, my third retirement, and working with my brother, making good things happen in Miami-Dade.
Oh, good. So speaking of good things happening, I see that, what's his name, Ken Griffith donated a whole bunch of money to improve education for kids down here in Miami-Dade County, $50 billion, all right? So it happens not to be in the public schools, but the reality is it's about education. So, Robert, so you said you had a nice thing, whether it was on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and it was a picture of us, I think, for sure for you, in 2000...
8 years ago.
2018, 17, in the back. Tell us about that.
Man, so it's a picture of you, Jeff, your son, and me.
Oh, nice.
And you know what's something that's amazing is that it came up on my history, so I wouldn't have remembered, but that triggered memories. So I remember you calling me up and asking me, hey, do you want to participate in a podcast? And foolish me, ignorant me. I not only say yes, but after I say yes, it's like, what is a podcast?
It was the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the beginning.
Beginning of the beginning, where we're at.
And actually, Robert was one of the reasons that he opened the door to that, right? Because it was...
To podcasting in general?
What was the young man's name? Yes.
What was that young man's name? Yes. That later
anyway,
on
he ran for county commission, and anyway, so
way out of his league, but a super nice kid.
Anyway, so he was laying on the floor back there with the camera going, and you brought the speakers in, if I remember right, and it was like, I guess this.
Wait, was this like the first podcast ever?
Pretty close.
Literally grassroots as you can get it.
Oh my gosh! Who knew, Robert, that you were such a big part of this?
But
next step.
It was his son and his vision. He told me about this, and I'm like, "What are you talking about, Michael? You're a print place." And then, boy, it's been nice to see it evolve.
How many shows have you done here now?
It's got to be well over 100.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I'm not.
You're going to be there.
This is kind of like when I go into Pilates and there's a board there and it says how many classes people have participated in. Yeah, it's a low number.
Let's do that. And Tony, why don't you put the camera on yourself? I want to introduce you to people. He's going to move that. There's a camera way up in the ceiling. He's going to move that around, and when it pops up, we're going to watch this. It's pretty neat. When we just put this in, he'll be up there in a moment. You got to move. There it is. The camera's moving.
Oh my goodness, this is great. Give us a wave.
Okay.
All right.
That's Anzoni right there. Way
the man,
to
the myth, the legend. I love it. I love it.
Anzoni,
That's
do me a
awesome.
favor. Why don't you put on cnewstv.com? It's our new website. It's going to be housing all our new videos.
Finally?
Yes. A new one.
High five to that.
I know. You know what happens? When you have something old and you try to make it better when it's old, all right? It's hard to replace the engine if the car can't, if the wheels can't support it.
That's true.
Right? He's going to put it up there in a second. And we have Alex over here. All right, Alex, why don't you come on over?
That's the man.
Alex.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you stand right over here? Okay, so Alex is going to make an announcement.
Back there?
Okay, wait until the camera goes. Okay, let's do Alex first, all right? And Jody got it? Okay, Alex, tell us.
Okay, so effective Friday, I am starting at Accord Productions in Miami.
All right. What does Accord Productions do?
They videography and video editing on a high level.
Yes. That's wonderful. Thank you for 3 wonderful years, all right?
love
and
you.
we're very proud of you.
Yeah.
All right.
Super proud of him. Now I'm envious.
Yeah.
He's going to be with someone else.
Yes.
And not us.
Yeah. So
Well, I think what was the coolest part of that conversation was when I came in and I was speaking with the other young man, he said, he was walking me to the back and he said, yeah, well, Alex, we're going to miss him. He was my teacher. And when I met Alex, when I first came in 3 years ago, and Alex was the producer, you know, people were helping Alex. So it's kind of like you've got
Yes.
this great mentorship program here, which is beautiful.
and it's wonderful. We're very happy for him and very encouraging for people to grow. That's one of the reasons why we have those cameras. We're going to make stars out of some of these people.
This is great.
And we
This is
have
great.
Emily, who's produced a show. She has her own
met
show
Emily.
called Everything with Emily. All right.
That's great.
And that's just the way it gets started. We're going to show. Are we going to find the website, Anzoni? That's cnewstv.com. Here we got it. He's still getting instructions over there.
I got it. I understand.
Miller, until you pop that up, you become the platform for podcasting in South Florida. Look at that.
We were lucky, and one of all the experience, 100 shows, all right? And he's always wearing a suit, all right? Did your wife pick those clothes out?
She does take me to my own tailor, yes.
Of
And the
course.
expense that goes along with it.
You look sharp, even not in a suit.
Thank you.
All right, former state rep, that was when 86, 88, 92.
No, it was later than that.
When was that?
Thank you for aging
Yeah.
me there, buddy.
Yeah, no, you was
2016
Yeah,
to 18.
yeah.
One term.
Yeah. So let's talk about the outlook for Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
You know, we have a lot of money that's coming in Miami-Dade County, a lot of rich people. We have a lot of new housing that's going up. It costs a lot to live here. Mm-hmm. And the county now is working fervently to try to provide more transportation. I'm not sure how much it matters for the people that live in Palmetto Bay or in South Miami. People live south, they have that roadway. So you're in the middle of between the next big growth down south of you, and people are going to be going there, and then they have to get there.
Yeah, so we were actually pleasantly surprised. Our village manager and some of our staff, I did not have the opportunity yet to travel on the BRT. And, you know, the village of Palmetto Bay supported BRT. We wanted rail, but we got behind Mayor Cava and said, okay, bring the BRT. I was a little skeptical, but from what I'm hearing, it's going to be a little bit of a game changer. So every 7 minutes, buses are going to roll through. We all see the arms. They seem to be pretty much functioning. I mean, they've been functioning for quite some time. And then you'll be prioritized to get right up to the metro, get on the escalator, and walk up. You won't have to take
Really?
a second step
Wait,
there
so
to get
the
another
bus is going to
ticket.
take you to where? To Dadeland?
To Dadeland or anywhere in between. So you can come from Homestead and stop in Palmetto Bay if you like. We just had a conversation with parents in our community because we have about, from what I understand from the numbers, about 32 unique riders every day. And of those 32, this is on our iBus, the park and ride that we have out of St. Richard's. Of that group, about somewhere between 7 and 10 of them are students that go to DASH or a New World School of the Arts. And so parents had heard, I guess, through the process of the budget that there was a potential for us losing the iBus, which there is a potential for losing the iBus. We're plugging in, expanded freebie. But as I was explaining to them at the last meeting, how do you normally get to the iBus, which is at St. Richard's on 152 and 77th? If you drive, raise your hand. This was during one of our public meetings. They'd raise their hands because they're driving there, parking their cars, or driving, dropping their kids off. I said, all you're going to do, if you're not going to use the freebie to get picked up at your front door, you'll be able to drive over to the 152 stop or 168 where they have a multimodal park, step onto the BRT, and be prioritized right to the Metro Rail. So,
as you know, when consumers know that the government cares and is doing stuff, we feel better, even if we're not using just to be able to have the conversation. Let's go back to the site. cnewstv.com is our news site. It's there's the homepage right there.
that's awesome.
And then why don't you go to where all the hosts are? So that's the beginning of it. And click on one of those. Let's see if it's working. We're going to find out. You're going to have your name up there pretty soon.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, so there's different shows that are there. All right.
That's great.
And then we have. Are the podcast media kit? Is that up there, where people can see the different things we do? And that's Nestor right over there.
Hey, Nestor.
Hold on, I have to get a picture, please.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Wait, you didn't get my good side. No, just kidding.
Why don't we just switch? What about, we'll put your good side over here.
So one of the things that we see that's happening all the time, it looks like the rate of violence is increasing. All right, it may not be, but it sure seems like that every day or two we're getting more exposure, more exposure, more exposure. You're a police officer for half your life, right?
And you expect me to answer that question?
Yes.
As to why? Oh, man. I just, we have a lot of mental health out there, right? Mental health is probably one of the biggest, I guess, factor that factors into people's lives, stress. But, there's a lot of people hurting, right? There's a lot of people hurting. And I think we often forget that policing, it's a community-wide effort, a village effort, right?
Sure.
And a lot of people that should be taking action, and should be involved, are not involved. So, look, we have a violent nature as it is, right? Humans that can't deny it, we're violent. And many amongst us resolve nothing less than with violence. So I think that it's going to take a long time for us to address what is currently happening right now and increase violence. But one last thing, crime is down.
Yes.
Overall crime is down.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It kind of surprises me, the conversation that we're having, because in the village of Palmetto Bay, we're very proud that we have one of the lowest crime rates in all of Miami-Dade County. I attribute that mainly to, one, council giving good resources to our police department, but also police doing their work. And sometimes I know community members, they'll be like, well, I don't see the police officers on my block, but in a large part they're doing their work on the borders of Palmetto Bay, right, to kind of insulate us, protect us from crime. But I do definitely see a lot more, and I don't want to use the word violence, but more political violence and just mean words, right? And that's something, especially with the advent of social media, that I think sometimes folks just feel like that's a way to vent their upset, whether it's with local government, police.
And I don't know the connection, but when you see these kids that are now grown playing those war games on their machines and then on their phones, there's no question that stimulates the mind and the dopamine and the rush that you get from that. And I don't know if there's a translation between doing
maybe
that. Maybe
desensitizing? Do you think like people feel a little more desensitized to, doing something physically or verbally? You're using the word violence, but violent.
So one of the things one of the ways people get over phobia is by exposure to it. And then you get desensitized to the anxiety about it. So if we believe that works, all right, then doesn't it work the other way too, where you're absorbing all this stuff? And if you get that dopamine rush, all right, and you get a charge out of it, and if the search is for dopamine, all right, what do you have to do in order to do that?
Well, it's a known factor that video games, video modules have been used as training tools, right? So why can't we believe or buy into the fact that as a child or a young person or anybody is sitting there playing violent games, it's not going to affect them? We know from studies that the more they play, there's greater hand-eye coordination, right? Quicker to react to things that come up in front of them. And these games are becoming more realistic as the day passes. Sure. So they are training grounds, if you will. The important thing is for the family members and those that are loved ones, those that are around them, to recognize when it's becoming a problem. Right? Because if you look at all the case studies, and we were talking to Frank Fernandez, former assistant chief of the city of Miami. What was he? The deputy vice mayor? Was he? Well, assistant city manager to Coral Gables, who did a recent case study analysis on the Uvalde incident. Well, he went back a number of active shooter incidents, and points out the same thing the FBI has pointed out, the same thing the Secret Service has pointed out, is that with each one of these mass casualty incidents, which are getting more and more common, you have precursor events, that flags that showed that most of these people were predispositioned to commit a violent act, or they even said that they were going to commit these violent, heinous acts, yet people around them, one, either failed to recognize it, or two, which is worse, failed to speak up about it.
So there was an incident in one of the South cities where some kids were driving in their car, and they took their paintball rifles out and shot somebody. All right, 3 times. It doesn't matter who it is. All right, and it's like, where does that come from that you would do that? All right, even if you didn't like it, or maybe they didn't even know. But what's the purpose of it? Because they whether they thought they could get away with it, or they thought they would be neat. Any thinking behind those random? So I don't know if that was random.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know education. I don't know law enforcement, other than what I've been exposed to through the Village of Palmetto Bay. And I was thinking while we're on this topic, which is not a topic I knew we were speaking of, but screen time has got to impact behaviors, all of ours, right? Even myself. You know, when you're looking and using a phone, I'm sometimes shocked at the number of hours, right, that I am on my phone. Now, your phone can also break that down so that you know how often you spend on social, how often you spent shopping, or answering emails. But kids are exposed to a lot of screen time. And I would imagine, it's not my area of expertise, that's got to have something to do with it. So how do you kind of circumvent that, getting kids off of modeling it, number one, right? Not walking around with your phone. How many times the other day I was in a restaurant and I just looked around very quickly as I was seated with my guest, and I was like, I would say 80% of the people, even at the tables, were all sitting looking at their phone. You're out on date night. This was on Saturday, and you know they're on their devices. So we have to model the kind of behavior we want to see in our kids.
So tell us, since you brought up about Palmetto Bay, what is going on in the Village of Parks?
I'm all choked up. So many good things. So first of all, we've got coming up, we have our State of the Village. It's going to be on December 11th. Thank you. You may not know it yet, but Community Newspapers is going to be a sponsor. Just found out a couple minutes ago. Going to be kind of unique. We're going to be doing it at Palmetto Bay Park, out on one of the fields.
It is.
And to that end, I mean, we're talking about this other piece, but that's one of the ways you keep kids off devices, is have them engaged in athletic activities. And, you know, we're hoping to promote some of that through this upcoming State of the Village. We have our Coral Reef Rec Room that I am hoping, it's moving very quickly, that it will be finished by the end of this year or at the very beginning of next year. Super exciting. We have pickleball going in with Diadem. They're going to be the vendor, the provider for pickleball at Palmetto Bay Park. So lots of exciting things. We've had a bit of a rocky time over the last few weeks. We had one of our colleagues make comments on social media that, you know, I did not feel held the standard. So we've kind of that kind of took a little bit of the oxygen out of the space for a while. Hopefully we're getting things back on track so that we can be doing the business of the people.
So what's the next piece of business for the people?
Coming up, actually, a kind of exciting Village of Parks. So we've got an item coming up on the 20th. That will, if you remember the Woods controversy, it's a green space that we lease from the county. I think it's $1 a year or something like that. We have a contract with the county, and we've got to do a certain number of things there to get it back to its natural state as a pine rockland space. But we had some folks that were worried that we weren't going to be funding that. It was part of our discussion in budget cycle. So coming up on the 20th, we have an item that we will be actually changing our comprehensive plan, which is the piece that goes to Tallahassee, where you were at one point. And we're going to be creating that as a Parks and Rec space.
Very nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So Robert, so you've been out of office for a few years. You do a show here every 2 weeks or
Every
weekly?
week,
every
thereabouts,
week,
yeah.
right? What's in the near future for you next year or two?
Oh man, well, from actually working with you, because you provided knowledge base for me to reference and actually run for office, right? You provided some background that was very much needed on the process of legislating. So thank you. I don't think I've ever shared that with you.
Wow, thank
I'm
you.
very, very proud of that.
Thank you.
And humbled by that. And because of you, who have gotten me into this podcast thing, we started working with veterans and police officers in my arena along the lines of addressing their mental health needs, right? Breaking the stigma, if you will. Well, that has led into filming a documentary, which we're
Oh, my
about to
goodness.
release. We have the pre-final cut for preview with select individuals. I'm going to ask you to preview it, and if you wish to.
I would love to.
Because we're at the last stage of documenting the story, the journey, if you will, of veterans, American soldiers, who most of them were called by the strike on our country, mainland, during 9/11. They were sitting in high school.
Mm-hmm.
They saw the attack on the Twin Towers of Pentagon, Shanksville, plane that went down, and they joined the military. Well, they went on to fight in Ramadi, this particular platoon. And their story hasn't been told. So if you saw the movie American Sniper, Chris Kyle, these are the soldiers, the Army soldiers that were protecting and ensuring that the SEAL teams completed their missions. Well, no one's ever told their story.
Wow.
And here we are 20 years later. So we documented their journey. What was it like to go from combat to integration? What issues have they dealt with? And I thank you for that, because
Well,
it's called
that's
Out of
great.
the Fire into
you
the
actually
Light.
did it. We just held the
You know, our
door
village
open.
manager is a retired Marine colonel. So,
Wanna talk to him?
yeah, would love to connect you with him. I think that's great. I don't think it falls into this category that you are speaking of for the film, but I think that's very cool. Sharing
Sharing the stories.
sharing stories.
Healing.
Yeah.
Right. Robert, what's it like working on something that is way bigger than yourself?
Humbling. Humbling. It's not about me. It should never be about us, right? We talk about
That's right.
get elected. It's not about us. It's about the people, and some people tend to forget that. This process has been healing for me. I went into it because I carry my own demons, and PTSD. I can remember hearing knocks at the door, people come to visit, and me getting up in the middle of after sleeping, right, from the dead of sleep, reaching for my gun. So it's very scary
Sure.
to go into those modes of where you think someone's going to attack you. Well, how do we address that? We first need to talk about it. And I wasn't talking about it. So military, police, compounded trauma. Now I get to speak to others. And it is incredibly humbling, but it's incredibly healing.
Lots of folks that have not been in that type of trauma, and somebody does not have to go to war in order to have trauma. It could be their own trauma. It doesn't mean that it's any better or any worse. But the thought of being in that position of like, oh my goodness, this could be it. It must have been tough for you at that time, and now when you think about it. How did you get through that?
Wow. So I've asked the same question of others, because having been in those situations, you don't really presence danger times, right? It's later on when you stop the process. So it's really faith in what you're doing, and focusing on the mission that gets you through, and the camaraderie, right? The people that you're working with. But I want to share something with you, man. You just said something that's very, very incredibly on point. You said that you don't have to be in war to experience trauma. Well, we experience trauma just about every cycle, every hurricane season. Tell me you don't get heightened anxiety when a hurricane's barreling down through the Caribbean, headed our way. This is something that affects all of us, and we just need greater dialogue. We need better understanding, and people need to know that they're not alone.
Yes. Hurricane Andrew, you were here.
I was, yeah. I was laying on the floor of a townhouse. I lived at Dadeland Cove, right behind Williamson Cadillac. Give them a shout out because I love the Williamsons. Yeah, it was scary. So I get scared. I think when I say I get scared, I get worried that something's going to happen when we've got a storm brewing. I think a lot of folks now, though, they've forgotten because we haven't had a major storm in quite some time. So again, you go back to, got to have conversations about it, right? Everything that you're speaking of, you have to have conversations about things. If you're not talking about it, you don't have the opportunity to heal from it or to be prepared for when you get that fear the next time.
Yeah.
Whenever I talk about Andrew, I get goosebumps.
Yeah, sure.
I had two significant incidences. Are the walls and the roof of part of one of the bedrooms blew off. And I said, oh my God, where are my New York Marathon medals? And I'm crawling on the floor upstairs. There's no walls. And I said, I don't care. I have that inside. What's important is where's my 10th anniversary ring that I'm going to give to my wife?
Did you find it?
I found it. I did. And I said, Susan, you have to come out here.
That was a great pivot.
All right.
Good one. Hear that, Susan?
Yeah. And so here it is. Second story, no walls, no roof. So I gave it to her up there. The sun is shining that day. And you begin to realize there's stuff you can carry in here. But nevertheless, all right, I'm still getting goosebumps. It's traumatic.
Yeah.
And so we each have to figure out how to deal, with that. And then afterwards, another great trauma was people started sending us gifts and stuff. Grant and I are typically givers and sort of shun receiving. So I did not know what to do when people were giving. I had no idea. I said, Susan, why are people giving us this stuff? I had no clue, none. Why are they doing that? And so I learned from that people want to give because they get something from it, and then they want you to receive it in good. Then
Sure.
you feel good from that. So what I tell people nowadays, let somebody give that to you because they enjoy giving it, and you should enjoy receiving it, because if you don't let them do that, if they want to pay for dinner, right, let them enjoy that. And I remember there was a priest at a funeral, and he says, I'm accepting this on behalf of the guy that gave it to me to give, because I know that will bring him joy.
That's great.
And it was significant. And then about 3 months ago, I'm walking through the building, thinking about Hurricane Andrew. And I said, back then, I said, what did we do to deserve this? Well, 3 months ago, I'm walking through this building. And I said, what did we do to deserve this? And it was instantly, because you're a good guy.
Good spin.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the significance
That's
of
right.
that event that occurred August 24th-ish, 30-some-odd years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that we each have those incidents that occurred that are so significant for us. I think, part of this, we also many times don't recognize something that we have done for somebody else, right, that has an impact on them, especially with our young man over there.
Yeah.
To where I didn't, it's like what we learned more. We gave freely. No, he did. And that we learned so much from that.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation last week. I was in a meeting and with a friend, and we were talking, and he said, why don't you reach out more, right? Because I'm there, like, with the whole data dump, like, here's what's happened in the last year. And he's like, you should reach out more. I thought, well, I don't like to bother people. That's one of my things. I don't want to bother you to ask for help or ask for advice. But I think sometimes just the ask, don't really need it, but just the ask is sometimes cathartic for the receiver. And it's also, you're right, it makes the giver feel good. You're training, we just talking about the two guys right here, right? Where you have somebody leaving who was just new 3 years ago, and they're going to miss him because he's their teacher.
Yes.
That's a pretty cool.
There's a lot of healing, immense healing, in just asking and sharing.
Yeah.
It's a stigma not to ask, as you
It
just
is,
pointed
yeah,
out, right? It's a
yeah.
stigma. Oh, I don't want to bother that person. I don't want to tell my spouse. I don't want to tell my friends. I don't want to ask. But often, as you just pointed out, not only are you going to make that other person feel included by asking them, but you're going to take a load off yourself.
Absolutely.
And that is so needed.
So we frequently run stories on people, and we have in the front of the Pinecrest Tribune positive people. Been doing it for
It's a great.
years.
It's great, and the kids that you feature, they love it. And it's very important.
That is.
So, and one thing, so every once in a while, there's we have somebody in addition to kids. Lady comes in yesterday. She says, "Michael, I'm 79. 35 years ago, I was a positive person in Pinecrest.
Wow,
To us, it was just another person.
impact.
All right?
Yeah.
And so here it is. And she wanted me to know that. And I was like, floored. That thing that we did, that we didn't think was such a big deal, it's just another one of the 5 that were running that day, the kind of impact that can have. So I wonder as we go through our day, the things that we do, whether they go home, I met this really nice lady, there's what she did, or I met this guy that used to be a cop and he held the door open for me, whatever it is. So I think as we get close to the new year, here it is, the middle of October. Before we know it, it's going to be, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Okay, don't slow down.
All right.
Let's slow down.
Anxiety rising.
Yes, exactly.
So I think that as we look towards that time, is that to sort of make a commitment inside what we're going to do to make the place better. Is
Just
there
the
something-
world better.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So what do you want to do to make it a little bit better?
Well, I have an idea. I'm not quite ready to share it, but one of the experiences that I've had, and I was actually thinking about it as you were speaking, is the number of individuals that the city, the council, people, myself included, have impacted over the course of 11 years of service. And it's not always the things that you would think about, right? It's not the big piece of policy that, saved the iBus. I'm going to use that just because we talked about it a couple minutes ago. Or the saving the woods through, doing. It's not about the policy making. And I have it on my webpage. It says the best way to serve humanity the best way to serve a community is to serve humanity. And I think whatever we can do, that it has been my experience over the course of 11 years that old adage, people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I get I've had through the years the recognition of individuals, not standing receiving an award, but saying, you're not going to remember, but in 2016 my son came, or you walked up to my son on the ball field and said, wow, that was an incredible pitch. You must have been practicing for a long time. And I'm using that as a silly example because it's almost conversational in nature, but a child then is like, wow, I've got a really awesome pitch. I'm going to hone in on that. They feel good about that. Children, adults, they feel good when you take a moment to lift them up. Sometimes that's through
Tell
recognition.
a short story. What's the name of this big soccer star?
Is it Messi?
No, David Beckham.
Oh, Beckham. I'm so sorry.
She remembers this.
Messi.
All right. We
Just
were doing,
saying.
we were
If
doing,
you're listening, I'm sorry,
so,
David.
So we were doing
You're going to tell this is an amazing, this is a good, I forgot about it for a minute, but great story.
We were hosting David Beckham and the group 6-7 years ago, and he was at Pinecrest, Evelyn Greer Park.
Yeah.
And he's there we're taking pictures and everything. She comes over to me. She says, Michael, I saw this kid way in the back. He was kicking around the soccer ball, and you went over to him.
Yeah.
And you said, are you here to meet Beckham? Who? David Beckham. She goes, no, where? She goes, come with me. Yeah. She takes this kid. She pushes him up to me. I said, I'm going to put my hands on your shoulder. Just let me navigate you to him. He gets a picture with David Beckham.
Yeah. No, it was
that when he went home that day, he says, you cannot believe what happened.
He literally, the young man, he might have been 13 or 14 years old. He went to Palmetto. He was living in an apartment. And this is, God works in strange and mysterious ways. I was late. Shocking. But God works in strange and mysterious ways. I was late for mine, so he's like, well, let's just wait and we'll do it with Robert. So I had to go park over at Village of Pinecrest City Hall because there was no parking left. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to, take the walk. So I'm walking through the field. It's a I don't know, whatever day. There's a kid, it was teacher planning day. The kid is out there. He's got 50 if he has one ball. And I said, where's your team? And he said, oh, no, I'm practicing. I need to get better at this. I need to get better at that. And I said, oh, have you ever met David Beckham? And that's how he was like, what? And he didn't speak so much English. He called me lady. So I said, yeah, I'm going over to meet David Beckham. And frankly, and no offense, David, if you're following this, no offense, I'm sorry. But it wouldn't have been at the top of my bucket list, right? Mm-hmm. It's, I'm not super sports oriented like you all. I love the socialization of sports, right? I love going to sporting events, hanging out with friends, watching their kids, all that other good stuff. And he was like, lady, David Beckham? And he starts gathering his balls. I go, no, just leave the balls. Let's go. So, we make it across the field. And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure, lady? And I said, yeah, I'm sure. And thanks to you, probably, who knows, that might be some big star someday. Or it's certainly, at the very least, that was his guy. So he was very happy.
So here we are. Almost a new year coming up, all right? The village is going to have lots of stuff going on.
Through
there. Robert, I expect to see you here in another week to do some more shows. Thank you very much for your support and trust that and I hope we did a good job for you. And I was so pleased to see that. All right, lots of compliments. Thank you, for that. And it took me back. I went, oh my goodness. I go, look at that. It was a picture, 2018 or 17.
I'm going to start sending you pictures if it has this impact on you. We used to be able to run. I don't know if you remember that picture.
Yeah, I remember that picture.
I'll send them to both of you.
Oh, great. Robert Asensio, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michael.
Mayor, as always.
I love you guys. Thanks.
Madam Mayor,
appreciate it. Sir,
as always.
A special treat today.
Okay,
Thank you.
That camera right there. Listen, Grant and I, that camera right there, we now subscribe to the Disney rule, which is when you hug